Good morning, honourable members. Good morning to our guests in the gallery. Welcome to this special sitting. We would like to draw your attention to the rules that your presence here is welcomed, but you're not allowed to participate in the proceedings of the House in any way. If I may call the House to order, I would now like to call upon the Minister to table the Provincial Economic Review and Outlook and Municipal Economic Review and Outlook. The Honourable, the Minister of Finance, Minister Mayor.
Honourable Speaker and Deputy Speaker, Honourable Cabinet colleagues here in the House, Honourable Leader of the Official Opposition, leaders of other political parties, Honourable members of this legislature, colleagues and citizens of the Western Cape. Madam Speaker, I rise today to table the Western Cape Government's economic intelligence for both the province and the municipal spheres of government. Madam Speaker, the economic and social economic research is captured in the 27th Provincial Economic Review and Outlook, as well as the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook 2017, which is used to inform and guide provincial and municipal policy, planning, implementation and budgeting. Trends highlighted in these publications also reflect on the level of impact made as part of the provincial municipal services and programs being implemented across the Western Cape Province. Madam Speaker, this evidence-based approach adopted in this research supports good governance, financial sustainability, economic sustainability, which was also create and facilitate the creation of public value. Madam Speaker, let me now turn to the global economy. Madam Speaker, the International Monetary Fund forecasts global economic growth to accelerate to 3.5% in 2017 and to 3.6% in the next year, 2018. However, according to the Bureau for Economic Research of the University of Stellenbosch, growth in the South African economy is expected to remain frail at 0.3% in 2017 before accelerating to 0.9% in 2018. The weak GDP growth outlook and, crucially, Madam Speaker, the expectation of business confidence will remain depressed in 2017, potentially also in 2018, will likely see private sector fixed investment continue to underperform. And I will say something more about that later on. Madam Speaker, let me now turn to the Western Cape Provincial Economic Review. Madam Speaker, estimated growth for the Western Cape is at 0.8% for 2016, while the output in the province could rise by only 0.5% next in the 2017 financial year before meaningfully improving to 1% in 2018. Madam Speaker, the Western Cape shares common risk facing both the global and the national economies. The persistent drought conditions that we've discussed extensively in this House have serious implications not only for the agricultural sector but for the rest of the value chain. Further to this, the additional negative effects in the form of employment losses and lower exports are expected. The Western Cape is also more closely linked to the Euro area and the United Kingdom than the rest of the country, and the more pronounced slowdown in these regions will have a more detrimental impact on the Western Cape economy. Madam Speaker, the province is in the midst of a severe water crisis. As of August 2017, the province has received about 30% less rainfall than in a normal winter. We have seen that in this House that we have tabled reports, and it's documented in the Mero and in the Perro, that at the end of August 2016, the dam levels in the Western Cape was 60%. In August in 27, Madam Speaker, the dam levels are now below 30%. The impact of the water crisis on the Western Cape economy is likely to be significant, both directly on business and through supply chain. Madam Speaker, the agricultural subsector recorded the fastest growth in employment, 4.9% per year between 2011 and 2016, followed by this construction subsection sector at 3.7%. In the Western Cape, manufacturing employment declined from 248,000 to 240,000 in 2016. Madam Speaker, the oil rig repair industry was also negatively affected as a result of the decline in the oil prices at the end of 2014. Ship repair and ship fabrication activities have taken up a slack in the demand in the rig repair activity in 2015. Cape Town is currently the dominant ship repair location in South Africa. Tourism in the Western Cape has also shown some resilience in recent years. The Western Cape received the highest number of tourist bed nights and also had the highest average length of stay of any province in South Africa in 2016. A provincial initiative to promote Western Cape exports is the development of a halal food and agribusiness subsector targeting the global halal food and product market. The halal value chain recognizes the Western Cape's most significant opportunity lies in the manufactured food products. Madam Speaker, specific products identified for export promotion include snacks, sauces and juice. Madam Speaker, in 2015, a third of all Western Cape exports were halal foods. Madam Speaker, despite the drought in 2015, the agro-processing sector contributed 21.9 billion rand to the provincial gross value add. In 2016, it accounted for 448,233 jobs in the Western Cape. Madam Speaker, the business process outsourcing presents a significant opportunity for economic growth in the Western Cape. From 2012 to 2016, the employment in the Western Cape BPO sector grew at an average annual rate of 84%, culminating in 20,500 jobs in 2016. This is significant. Subsequently, the Western Cape increased its share of the South African market from 40% in 2012 to 63% in 2016. The recent rapid growth has put additional pressure also on the skills pipeline. I will return to this later on. Madam Speaker, what are the labour market dynamics in the Western Cape? Madam Speaker, the Western Cape unemployment rate was 20%, translating about 628,000 individuals unemployed in the second quarter of 2017. The second quarter 2017 saw 2.4 million people employed, which represent 54% of the Western Cape working age population. Over the 5-year period 2012 to 2017, an additional 326,000 individuals found employment in the Western Cape. With the Western Cape formal sector, the largest employment industries are the community, social and personal services, wholesale and retail, and financial and business services, together with accounting for 56% of the formal jobs. In the first quarter, Madam Speaker, of this financial year, there are 2.16 million youth of working age in the Western Cape, while the narrow unemployment rate amongst youth in the province was estimated at 30.8% in the same quarter. Madam Speaker, this matter needs to be addressed seriously. I'm particularly happy that this matter is currently receiving attention by all my cabinet colleagues in the human settlement space for the youth brigade, in opportunities for the youth to be involved in the environment, for the youth to be involved in construction industry. I'm particularly happy for the youth in Department of Social Development in various programs, particularly in the youth cafes. I'm particularly happy to see the youth employed also in the EPWP program to fight crime, and I'm particularly happy to see many of the youth also receiving attention through the program of the Minister of Cultural Affairs and Sport in the Western Cape. And so we are taking reasonable steps to promote these efforts. Madam Speaker,
order, please, Minister.
It is important
order, Minister
that we
Mayor. So before you proceed, members, we've been doing well. Can we allow Honourable Dianki? Members, can I ask that whilst there is a speaker on the floor, you do not drown out the speaker? And I'm looking at both sides of the House. The Honourable Magaka is not here to see me looking at both sides of the House today. Thank you. You may proceed, Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Western Cape is estimated to be the third most populous province in South Africa. Life expectancy fertility rates and migration have an impact on the province demographic profile. Net in-migration is estimated at over 290,000 people between 2011 and 2016. Madam Speaker, in 2015, 55.5% of the South African population were considered to be poor, with 7.5% lived in this province. To learner enrollment in the province increased by 2.1% between 2016 and 2017. In addition to population growth, improved retention rates have also impacted on enrollment figures. Performance in respect of the provincial systemic test and national senior certificate results is encouraging. Performance in maths and language across grades 3, 6 and 9, which was championed by the Minister of Education, improved between 2015 and 16, and the NSC pass rates have also improved. The NSC pass rates in accounting, and I'm particularly happy so, also mathematics and physical science have also improved between 15 and 16, because those are the skills we need in the provincial treasury. The Western Cape life expectancy at birth continues to increase and remains above the average, national average for both males and females. So, Honourable Member, I'm very happy to report that you live longer in the Western Cape. The primary cause for death in the province in 2015 was diabetes mellitus, followed by HIV/AIDS. Both child and institutional maternal mortality have declined between 2015 and 16 and between 2016 and 17. Informal housing has remained relatively stable at around 18% since 2011. When considering tenure, approximately 43% of households owned their homes in 2011. I am pleased to note that the progress made by my colleague, the Honourable Minister of Human Settlements, made with the transfer of title deeds across the Western Cape. Access to municipal services also continue to be prioritised and is well above the national average. Madam Speaker, now let me turn to the Merrill Municipal Economic Review and Outlook in the regional areas of the Western Cape. Madam Speaker, the 2017 Merrill or the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook highlights a concentration of economic activity in the Cape Town, which contributes to 72% of the Western Cape GDPR. The Cape Winelands contributes to 11.4%, followed by Eden, 7.6%, West Coast 5.1%, Overberg 3.5%, and Central Karoo 0.5%. The 2017 Merrow shows that between 2010 and 2015, the West Coast, the Cape Winelands and Overberg districts are showing positive signs of growth rates of 2.8, 2.9 and 3.1% respectively. This is outstanding growth, given that our national economy is growing then less than 1%. The Saldanha IDZ is one of the 5 IDZs currently operating in South Africa, the aim which is to facilitate the industrial development of the main geographical areas. Madam Speaker, the Saldanha IDZ serves as the primary service provider to the oil, gas and marine industries and will focus on the regional economy of the Western Cape, Madam Speaker, in the 2016 financial year. Madam Speaker, Eden's real GDPR growth averaged 2.7% between 2010 and 2015, while the Central Karoo recorded an average GDPR rate of 2.1% over the same period. The City of Cape Town grew by an average of 2.5%, 2010 to 2015, mainly supported by the growth in the primary sectors, that is 3.9%, and tertiary sectors 2.8%. The 2017 Merrow provides detailed sectoral employment and skills information per various municipalities, and we can discuss many of these things later during the Budget Committee. Madam Speaker, the Atlanta Special Economic Zone was established in the Cape Metro in 2011 as a green manufactured hub. The Special Economic Zone in Atlantis has attracted 30 foreign and local enterprises with 4 principal investors, including Gestamp Renewable Industries, who invested 300 million rand. It is expected that more than 1 billion rand will be invested in the Special Economic Zone in Atlantis, creating much-needed jobs. All regions recorded positive net employment between 2010 and 2015. Outside of Cape Town, net employment increased the most in the Cape Winelands district, 67,844 jobs, followed by Eden, 32,000 jobs, West Coast, 28,000 jobs, Overberg, 23,000 jobs, in the Central Karoo 2,600 jobs. Demand for skilled workers grew by 1.9% for the non-metro districts between 2005 and 2015 and by 0.8% in the Cape Town. For this reason, I do appreciate the work my colleague, the Minister of Agriculture, is doing in the area of skills development and capacity building, specifically in the agricultural sector. The Premier Skills Game Changer and the Premier Skills Forum is making good progress by focusing on skills development needed by the economy. We now have a targeted, demand-driven skills development strategy in place in this province. Also, Madam Speaker, this brings also about an increase on reliance of transfers and grants from national and provincial government as municipal revenue is declining. Madam Speaker, municipalities must prioritize repairs and maintenance to increase the life cycle of critical infrastructure, particularly of water and sanitation, bulk infrastructure and electrification. I recently called on all municipalities in the Western Cape, Madam Speaker, to prioritize repairs and maintenance of their critical infrastructure. We are now doing more regular site visits to determine the value for money in municipalities and also to monitor the performance of infrastructure spending. We are also now regularly monitoring the provincial infrastructure spending across the Western Cape. Socioeconomic indicators that have moved in a positive direction include a decrease in indigent households and the increasing provision of access to basic services. Socioeconomic indicators that remain a concern, Madam Speaker, in municipalities across this province include rising unemployment, rising poverty levels, informal dwellers, households without income, crime, substance abuse, and people with no schooling, and prevalence of diseases such as diabetes and HIV and TB, amongst others. But, Madam Speaker, what are the implications of both the Mero and the Pero for budgeting and planning? Madam Speaker, there's an upside potential from higher than anticipated growth in the euro area and the relative services orientation of the Western Cape. Therefore, an approach which includes capitalizing on the strengths and focus on driving economic opportunities, for example, within the manufacturing, export, agri-processing, tourism and ICT sectors, and instilling business confidence remain to enhancing growth in this province. The Western Cape agriculture and agro-processing export sectors, as well as construction and tourism, are at risk from the severe water crisis, both directly and indirectly through their supply chains. Therefore, it is key that the provincial response to the water crisis is well coordinated, taking into account the potential economic implications and sustainable economic considerations. The growing
Order, please.
The growing provincial population, coupled with muted economic conditions, will increase demand for public services such as education. Despite the improvements in socioeconomic conditions, social ills such as crime and substance abuse remain a challenge in this province. For growth to be smart, it must be fueled by innovation, focus on improving the performance and quality of education outcomes, strengthening research and promoting innovation and knowledge transfer in a digital society. Madam Speaker, municipal areas must continuously strive to diversify their economies to gain the most benefit value chains. Investing in infrastructure will remain critical in creating an enabling environment in the Western Cape. We have already made 28.8 billion rand available in the current MTF for infrastructure spending. Public investment in bulk infrastructure, road electrification, boosts economic growth by crowding in private sector investment, as well as providing a solid foundation for social development. Madam Speaker, repairs and maintenance is critical to ensure longevity of infrastructure, specifically water-related infrastructure, to minimize water losses in the light of the current drought. Added to these risks are the energy, climate change, and the avian influenza epidemic in the poultry industry. The Minister of Economic Development and the Minister for Agriculture has already registered the avian influenza risk on the provincial risk register. We are currently in discussion with the Department of Agriculture as to how we will deal with this issue as we go forward over the next MTEF. Due to the low economic growth, municipal revenues will be under increased pressure, which means municipalities will have to find the right balance between the appropriate basket of services and affordability. Given our intergovernmental cooperation and asymmetrical approach to economic development, we value the role of all our partners, including the Economic Development Partnership, Westgrow, Green Cape, local business chambers present here today, and many other non-profit organizations, as well as the religious bodies. Madam Speaker, the Western Cape government remains committed to accelerating economic growth and job creation in our region. Madam Speaker, the economic intelligence captured in the Provincial Economic Review and Outlook and the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook will now be used by policymakers in this government and in municipalities on key economic issues that will impact on policy, planning, implementation and budgeting. The aim is to provide more recent information of the economic and sectoral environment, which in turn informs our policy decisions, our planning and our budgeting, and also being responsive interventions or facilitate responsive interventions required by policymakers for sustainable economic and human development. Madam Speaker, this economic intelligence will further supported by the publication of a socio-economic profile of every municipality in the Western Cape. Part of this work that we're producing here, Madam Speaker, is to provide for every single of the 30 municipalities a socio-economic profile which can be used as part of the planning purposes for the integrated development plan as they move forward. Madam Speaker, today, what we are doing, we give an honest account
Order,
of
please. Sorry, Minister Mayor, there's someone's conversing, but it's a little bit too loud.
Okay, Madam
You may
Speaker,
proceed.
today we are giving an honest diagnostic assessment backed by research. Secondly, what we need to do, we also, Madam Speaker, will then post this honest diagnostic assessment, develop appropriate policy responses to these hard realities. Soon all these cabinet ministers will defend their budgets as part of the MTEC process, taking into consideration the economic intelligence produced in the Bureau and the Pero. We will then use that engagement to prioritize this government's budget for maximum impact over the next 3 years to determine whether we create public value, Madam Speaker. But lastly, Madam Speaker, we also will have to come back to this House, both in the Budget Committee but also in this legislature, to come and account for the performance of this department and this government's performance generally. Madam Speaker, I will return to this House on the 23rd of November 2017 to table the Western Cape government's fiscal response to the challenges highlighted in both the Mero and the Pero when I tabled the Western Cape government's medium-term budget policy statement. Madam Speaker, it is now my pleasure, on behalf of this government and the Cabinet of the Western Cape, to table the 2017 Provincial Economic Review and Outlook and the Municipal Economic Review and Outlook for consideration in this House, which will be used as part of this government's commitment to evidence-based practice. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I would very much like to express my deep thanks and appreciation to the research teams, both in the various departments, economic development and tourism, and the Provincial Treasury, but also joined by the Economic Development Partnership and all the various departments that took part in the deliberations and the discussions. I also would like to express my deep thanks and appreciation to the Business Chamber, the researchers upstairs, the University of Stellenbosch, and all the other universities and the research institutions. Nothing is possible without the hard work and the evidence-based work that they've put. I sat in many of these workshops debating the hard economic realities, and I want to deeply express on behalf of this government our thanks and appreciation for the work of our economists and our researchers to put these documents together. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Mayor. The Provincial Economic Review. Honourable Dianki, there will be a meeting shortly after this. If you could just hold on until then, please. If I may, members, the Provincial Economic Review and Outlook and Municipal Economic Review and outlook will now be referred to the relevant committees for consideration. I would like to once again take the opportunity to thank our guests who came and attended this morning. To the members of the administration, thank you for your presence. And before we adjourn, I would like to remind members that the Budget Committee meeting will commence after the adjournment in the chamber. That concludes the business for the day. The House is adjourned.